this video, we will demonstrate how to configure the Expense Connect add-on for Microsoft D365 and how to process transactions from external expense applications. Once the connector has been installed in your environment, you can access the API connection area. Create a new integration record. Select the Connect product Expense Connect, then the platform you are connecting to, and insert the connection tokens provided by the expense application. Now, only the field mappings are needed before the integration can run. Open the field mappings from the integration record. This area allows you to filter the API request and also map all the data to the appropriate fields in D365. Press the button Apply Default Mapping to use the standard mappings. These can be modified if needed. To activate the integration, the periodic table needs to be configured. This determines the frequency expenses are imported into D365. With the integration running, we now need to define the business logic applied to the expenses. In the project module, we can access the Expense Connect parameters. These are legal entity specific. In general, the expenses can be processed in three main ways: ledger journals, project expense journals, or expense reports. With this configuration in place, it's now time to process actual expenses. The external application employees register their expenses as normal while adding any supplementary information that's required for approval. The expenses are then reviewed, and once the reviewer approves the expense, they are now ready for D365 to import using the Expense Connect add-in. The approved expense transactions are imported into a staging area. From here, the processing status can be monitored. Expense Connect will now process these transactions using the business logic defined earlier in the parameters. If the connector has been configured to create ledger journals, then the expenses are transferred to a ledger journal in the General Ledger module. The connector then identifies the correct attributes for the record, such as accounts, dimensions, etc. Now the journal just needs to be posted. This can either be done manually, or the connector can do this automatically as well. If the connector has been configured to create project expense journals, then the expenses are transferred to an expense journal in the Project Management module. The connector then identifies the correct attributes for the record, such as projects, categories, offset accounts, etc. Now the journal list just needs to be posted. This can either be done manually, or the connector can do this automatically as well. If the connector has been configured to create expense reports, then the expenses are transferred to an expense report in the Expense Management module. The connector makes sure the expense report is connected with an approved status so it can be posted. On the records, the connector makes sure to identify all the correct attributes, such as projects, categories, and line property. Now the report just needs to be posted. This can either be done manually, or the connector can do this automatically as well. The connector is part of a wider ecosystem of integration connectors, so don't hesitate to reach out to hear more about how we can assist with integrating D365 to external applications.